Yo, what is up, my friends? It is Nate Plays here. So today I am back with some more quality content. No, seriously though, today I will be reading the Zombies storyline. But disclaimer beforehand that I did not write this. It is found off the Zombies Wikia, and I will have the link to that in the description with the credits. So this is the main storyline, not Mob of the Dead or 5 or anything like that. So yeah, let's get right into it. Just saying, expect this to be a super long video, like the longest of all my videos. So I'm hoping this is going to be like a half an hour or less. So let's get right into it. In the year 1939, the world was threatened by Second World War after Germany's Chancellor and Supreme Dictator Adolf Hitler rose to power. Dr. Ludwig Maxis formed Group 935 as an international German-led research team and emerged as its head scientist. Maxis sought to use a mysterious new element, which he had named Element 115, to improve the human condition by developing advanced technology, and enlisted Dr. Edward Richtofen and a senior assistant rather than equal partner, much to his... I'm not even going to attempt to read that word. However, the group's goal immediately detoured due to the lack of funding, and Maxis regretfully turned to making a contract with the Nazi Wunderwaffe program to use 115 as a power source for deadly weaponry to help the Axis powers win the war. Maxis hoped that after the war, the generous funds in Germany's ultimate victory would put Group 935 in a much better position to help the world. Using a large supply of Element 115 found in meteors, Maxis began a series of tests, experimenting with 115 being used to power devices capable of teleportation, called MDTs, at the Der Riese facility in Lower Silesia. With the majority of the tests failed, Richtofen and another 935 scientist, Dr. Schuster, conducted a successful test on their own by teleporting a walnut using a microgram of Element 115. Though Edward assumed it was a sign of progress, Maxis criticized the scientists for failing to work on their assigned experiments, which led Richtofen into thinking Maxis planned to betray the scientists and claim their work as his own. Despite Maxis' displeasure, Richtofen and Schuster continued their research with the MDT device, and after a month of tests, Richtofen agreed to be teleported himself, but rather than appearing at the test site's mainframe, he arrived within a catacomb on the moon, where a large triangular device known as the MPD was located. After touching the device, Richtofen began hearing a series of voices in his head, unknowingly gaining schizophrenia. After touching it, he began hearing voices in his head, unknowingly gaining schizophrenia from the pyramid before being teleported away from a strange device, arriving in an erotic shrine in the Himalayas jungle known as Shangri-La. Richtofen remained there for 3 weeks and learned of a mysterious energy known as Viril. Richtofen returned to the Der Riese facility with full knowledge of the MPD and the Viril, and with Dr. Schuster and other Group 935 scientists spent 2 years at Eagle's Nest, transferring equipment and building a top-secret moon base, Griffin Station, to study the device, which he now knew to be a dimensional gateway to the Aether, placing Schuster and his superior, Dr. Groff, in charge of the facility. Dr. Richtofen continued his charade as Maxis' senior assistant, whom he planned to eventually kill and enter the Aether using the MPD and take control of its energy. As Groff and Schuster toiled with the device, Maxis and Richtofen began a project to create wonder weapons for the Nazi Party. Maxis, using a blueprint design created by a Japanese research group, Division 9, to create the ray gun, while Richtofen used the element to create the Wunderwaffe, DG2. A weapon so deadly, even Maxis himself felt uneasy about its mass production. Nonetheless, he promised Richtofen it would be produced, but his growing attraction with the secretary Sophia prevented him from doing so, infuriating Richtofen. While other weapons were produced from several Group 935 facilities, such as quantum entanglement device made by Richtofen and the same in the second generation ray gun created by Dr. Porter. Maxis focused his attention on the matter transference device, hoping to manufacture them I'm not even going to attempt to read that, granting German forces easy travel in the war. The initial test failed, with test subjects either being killed or exposed to element 115, resulting in their deceased cells being sent through a device, being reanimated and becoming unresponsive zombies. However, the first successful test was conducted after a dog had been sent through the device and failed to return to the mainframe. While Maxis believed the MDT's experiments to be failures, the Reichstag saw the creation of the zombies as another advantage in the war, forcing Maxis to create a program intended to control the zombies. During unsuccessful attempts to control the zombies, Richthofen traveled to a Siberian Group 935 outpost to experiment with Woodward 5 on living test subjects, hoping to produce a serum capable of rendering the human mind unresponsive to command from others. Using POWs, Richthofen used Red Army Sergeant Nikolai Belensky, Imperial Army Captain Takio Masaki, of Mexican soldier Pablo Marinos as subjects in these tests. Through the process, Belensky and Masaki's memories were erased, and Morines was killed, forcing Richthofen to request a replacement test subject. After an American OSS spy, Peter McCain, who was inserted into Group 935 to report all ongoing experiments to his handlers at the Nevada base, was compromised at the 935 facility at the Wittenow Sanatorium in Pankow, Berlin. A Marine recon team was sent to evacuate him. The team, consisting of Corporal Tank Dempsey, the leader of the team, John Banana, Smokey, and a fourth Marine whose name is unknown, found the site infested with the undead. Their extraction plan quickly failed, leaving Dempsey the only survivor, and Richthofen's newest test subject. Peter parachuted into Division 9's Rising Sun facility, where he died trying to land. Another recon team was sent to an airfield in an attempt to rescue the site from the zombies there. Richthofen became suspicious of the other OSS operatives in the organization, with Dr. Harvey Jena being one of his suspects. Jena was also present in the Siberian site developing the Scavenger sniper rifle. Nonetheless, Richthofen continued his work with 115, which yielded interesting results with each test subject. Dempsey acquired severe anger management issues. Belensky became functionless without some form of alcohol substance, and Masaki's mind was broke with him only speaking Japanese proverbs. As this research continued, Dr. Groff and Schulzer developed the wave gun and turned their attention to the MPD. When both scientists returned to Der Riese, World War II was at an end, resulting in the Allied victory and the collapse of the Third Reich. With 935 no longer funded at a test site overrun, the future looked grim. Though Maxis pressed on to improve the human condition, conducting a sixth test with the MPD hoping to mass produce it for public use. Maxis and Richthofen used Fluffy, a dog which Maxis gave as a present to his daughter Samantha, as the test subject, and to their astonishment successfully teleported her from teleporter Z to A, and spawned an orb of lightning in its place. As this occurred, Samantha arriving to the lab questioning her father on Fluffy's disappearance. The dog quickly returned through the lightning, with 115 reanimating her deceased cells and turning her into a being known as a hound. I'm just going to say hound. As Maxis and his daughter attempted to approach the monster, Richthofen proceeded with his plan by locking them in the teleporter, with the former dog activating its function in an attempt to murder the two. Unbeknownst to Richthofen, Samantha and Ludwig both entered the MDT and were teleported to separate locations. Samantha arriving at Griffin Station, where the MPD awaited open and ready for a human conduit. Terrified from a lack of air, Samantha accidentally ran into the device itself, entering the Aether, gaining control of its energy. Dr. Groff immediately contacted Richtofen and warned him of both father and daughter having survived, and received commands to locate Maxis and bring him to the station to finish him off. Using the MPD's ability to teleport matter, Schuster and Groff teleported Maxis to the base, where they allowed him to speak with Samantha. After promising he loved her, Maxis asked his daughter to use the Aether's powerful energy to destroy Group 935, and anyone daring to continue their dangerous work, which she promised to fulfill. Then he proceeded to commit suicide, causing his soul to become conjoined with the computer systems at Griffin Station, while Samantha commanded the zombie hordes located at numerous 935 outposts to slaughter any involved with the organization. Richtofen hastily escaped Doris, now overrun with zombies, and his 3 test subjects. Realizing that Samantha was in control of the Aether, he devised an alternative plan to gain ultimate power. Use a Vril generating device and sufficient supply of 115 to bend life force itself, allowing him to switch his soul with Samantha and entering the Aether as an all-powerful being. Arriving at the Rising Sun facility to locate a supply of the element, Richtofen developed the site to be populated by zombies, forcing him and his allies to fend off the horde. Due to a possibility of being overwhelmed, the 4 abandoned the site and returned to Doris, where Richtofen hoped to use an MPD prototype to arrive at Griffin Station in the same fashion as Samantha to possibly enter the Aether using a different method. After the MDT was shot with a Wunderwaffe DG2 charge, it overloaded and ripped through space and time, sending the group into the future at an abandoned theater in Germany. After disappearing from Doris, a Russian and American standoff took place, and both forces wanted to salvage the work of Group 935 for the benefit of their own countries, followed by a massacre of the zombie population there. Sometime prior to characters' arrivals at the Soviet Kosmodrome, a Russian scientist, Yuri Zavoyevsky, was transferred from Project Mercury to work on sending monkeys into space. Such as his dismay, his transfer was caused by Superior Gersh, who held a grudge against him after the relieving of his duty from Project Mercury. As Gersh is working on Project Mercury, his staff begin working on Project Thunder. Beginning his new work, Yuri soon noticed a teddy bear and Ryoska dolls at different places throughout the facility, causing him to wonder how a child could be let into the station. The child, Samantha, then slowly drives Yuri insane, and in a state of insanity finishes the Gersh device. Yuri has Gersh activated, allowing zombies to enter the station, trapping Gersh inside the device. Shortly after, Yuri presumably dies. After the events of Kino der Toten, the main characters somehow reach the abandoned Soviet Kosmodrome. The characters then hear Gersh, who tells them that the mechanism must be repaired, referring to the Casimir mechanism, which must be fixed by completing a series of different tasks. After all the steps are completed and the mechanism is fully repaired, Gersh is freed, leaving Samantha free to be ridden of the Aether. At the same time, John F. Kennedy, Robert McNamara, Fidel Castro, and Richard Nixon are negotiating when zombies break into the Pentagon. They are the only 4 still alive in the building, and while upon reaching the final level, discovers section of the Pentagon housing numerous devices and artifacts the Americans have salvaged from Doris. As they continue fighting at the Cosmodrome, Dempsey and Takio slowly begin to regain their memory. Takeo is the first to remember and remarks to himself that someday when the group is finished fighting zombies, Richtofen will get what he deserves. Dempsey, on the other hand, is slowly making progress as he remembers that he'd seen Richtofen before being captured. Takeo notes his shifting memories and believes Dempsey is finally remembering what Richtofen did to him. In modern day 2011, George A. Romero stumbled upon Group 935's research while making a World War II film, and he and the cast took a ship out to the now abandoned lab in Siberia. After he and the movie's crew were zombified by the remains of the ship's crew, only four main actors of the crew, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Robert Englund, Danny Terjo, and Michael Rooker, remained alive. After the Casimir mechanism was completed in Ascension, it overloaded the teleporter and sent the original characters to the Group 935 facility in Siberia, where they were trapped behind a locked door. Richtofen then asked the celebrities to help obtain the golden rod, which they did. Richtofen thanked the group by giving them the Wunderwaffe DG2 to help them survive against the onslaught. It was unknown what became of the celebrities after helping the group escape to Shangri-La. Though sometime later, Romero was interviewed where he recounted his story of how he found the research and how he came to make the film. Shangri-La, a temple that was once a mining facility for Element 115, however, does not live up to its name, as it's inhabited all of the zombified, and its inhabitants have all been zombified before the group's arrival. Richtofen now states that this was the last step to controlling the world before he is teleported there. Prior to the group's arrival at Shangri-La, two explorers, Brock and Gary, went on an expedition to prove their theories on Agartha. Brock later figures out the temple wasn't built by an ancient civilization, but by people in the modern era interpreting it. After investigating the temple, the pair accidentally activates the temple's time travel and died in the resulting zombie attack. The group travels back in time and helps the pair survive. When the group finally creates the focusing stone and places it on the altar with Richtofen's name, the two explorers are sent back to the moment they discover the temple, indicating that they're stuck in a never-ending loop. Now in possession of both the golden rod and the focusing stone, Richtofen believes he can now control the zombies. The group then travels to Area 51 so they can get to the moon via a teleporter to Griffin Station. Okay, when the group reaches Area 51, it is already overrun. Due to the element 115 on the moon, astronauts and scientists sent there have been zombified before the group's arrival. Meanwhile, a group of CDC radiation scientists and CIA agents investigate the ruins of a former nuclear test site in Nevada, where the undead begin to attack. Richtofen then has the group complete the MPD. When the device is completed, it opens up to reveal Samantha Maxis suspended in air. As it turns out, the device acts like a prison and keeps her cryogenically frozen so she can be used to control the zombies. Richtofen goes to a terminal to power up the golden rod and the focusing stone, which he fuses together. However, he encounters Dr. Maxis inside the terminal, who tries to stop him. Richtofen switches souls with Samantha to gain control of the zombies. Richtofen finally thinks everything has gone his way until Takeo, Dempsey, and Nikolai decide to stop him. Dr. Maxis, sensing Richtofen's betrayal, prepared a backup plan in case Richtofen got this far. The group then launches 3 missiles located on the moon, one of which impacts a nuclear test site, destroying the Earth's ozone layer in the hopes that it will sever the link between either, thereby greatly lessening the damage Richtofen could cause. Unfortunately, the calculations were made in haste, resulting in catastrophic destruction. The missile launch leaves the Earth a post-apocalyptic, crumbling wasteland, littered with undead hordes as civilization begins to collapse. As survivors begin to band together to form a small human communities and shelter to protect themselves from the now global undead threat. Maxis realizes that the failure of his original plans due to hasty calculations and begins contacting survivors to help with his plan B, to activate global polarization devices and open a gateway into the Aether, where he could overpower Richtofen and use its energy to heal the Earth. Unbeknownst to his followers, Maxis secretly planned to commandeer the Aether's energy for his own use to open the gateway to Agartha and reunite with Samantha, which will ultimately destroy the Earth and its people. Richtofen, unsatisfied with his limited power to the undead, planned to activate these polarization devices as well, which would grant him further manipulation of both zombies and humans after and meant the rift, a direct gateway to Agartha that would eternally blank the soul of Samantha Maxis. I said blank because there was a bad word there. Child-friendly content. Limited to communicate with only those capable of hearing the voices of the Aether, Richtofen began his own plight and quest for unlimited power. Meanwhile, Marlton Johnson emerges as the sole survivor of the events in the nuclear test site and meets Abigail Misty Brereton in an abandoned town, where they find two more survivors, Russman and Samuel J. Dullinger, who have commandeered a robotic bus they have used for transport. The four survivors are contacted by Maxis, who reveals the town is a location of a polarizing device required for his plans. At the same time, Richtofen contacts Samuel, who has previously eaten zombie flesh, resulting in him being able to hear Richtofen, instructing him to foil Max's plans by activating the tower in his favor, beginning the race for power between the Germans. The group is teleported by Richtofen to a skyscraper in the crumbling city of Shanghai, China. Maxis regains contact, hoping to gain access to the second tower located there, while Richtofen blackmailed Samuel into helping him acquire a device powerful as well, threatening to reveal to his allies his secrets. Every time the group fails to carry out the objective and is killed by a zombie horde, Richtofen would use his power to bring them back with no memories of having been killed before. Once a second polarization device has been activated by either the Germans, the group manages to escape the building where they were trapped in. Eventually, the group makes it out of the crumbling city of Shanghai and begins a journey through the remains of Europe and Africa to reach the rift, hoping to find answers about the unseen forces commanding them. In southern Angola, the group finds a western town buried underground near the rift. Maxis once again contacts his allies, imploring them to activate the last tower in his favor. Meanwhile, Samuel was tasked for the same objective by Richtofen, as it was also the last tower he needed to mend the rift and gain his ultimate power. So at this point, there are two outcomes. If the player decides to follow Maxis's Easter eggs in all three maps and polarize the towers in his favor, a portal to the Aether will open and allow Maxis to become the controller of the zombies in the dimension's energy. He will then proceed with his plan to open Agartha, revealing himself to be just as evil as Richtofen and announcing that in the process he will destroy the Earth and its surviving inhabitants, and reunite himself with his daughter, Samantha, after returning Richtofen to the physical world spawned as a blue-eyed zombie. Outcome 2. If a player decides to follow Richtofen's Easter eggs in all three maps and polarize the towers in his favor, the rift will be mended, eternally blanking Samantha to Agartha and allowing Richtofen to retrieve full manipulation of the Aether energies, with the Earth at his personal playground and Maxis to seize his Maxis to cease his very existence. Richtofen is now able to leave the Aether at will and uses the body of Samuel Stollinger as his physical host. This is after the second outcome. Unbeknownst to both Germans, Samantha had actually traveled to an alternate timeline, 1918. In this timeline, in the midst of World War I, the German researchers organized Group Notes 935 are tasked with creating powerful new weaponry to ensure victory for the Central Powers. During September of 1917, Dr. Ludwig Maxis and his partner Edward Richtofen lead an archaeological excavation into the trenches of northern France after Maxis promises Group 935's leaders that this is the location of an unknown and enigmatic new element. The excavation not only discovers this new element, but also uncovers an ancient and mythical ruin beneath the battlefield. Dr. Maxis classifies the new element as number 115 on the periodic table of elements. The group plans to use element 115 as a power source for new weaponry in the Wonder Weapon program. At the excavation site, Group 935 installs a series of conversion generators to utilize element 115 to create localized energy fields. To their surprise, the energy fields act like portals and begin to materialize advanced machinery of intermediate origin, leading Maxis to surmise that the conversion of element 115 is somehow capable of creating a crease to tear in space and time. As the excavation continues, Group 935 discovers more wonders, such as an ancient box capable of delivering weapons from various time periods, further confirming Maxis' suspicion that element 115 has time-altering properties. Dr. Richtofen takes part in the creation of at least 4 giant mechanical humanoids, maybe super glitch right then, whose creation is only possible due to the use of element 115 as a power source. Group 935 plans to deliver these to the German army for use in battle. It is at this time Richtofen notices Maxis start to show signs of paranoia and mental psychosis. The symptoms worsen as Maxis begins to hear the voice of Samantha, who claims not only to be his daughter, but also that she is trapped in a realm known as Agartha and needs his help to escape. Due to Samantha's constant interference with their work, Richtofen fears for his friend Maxis's. Meanwhile, the excavation in northern France unearths the sealed main chamber within the ancient ruins. All attempts to open this chamber are unsuccessful until, purely by chance, one of the workers sets off a gramophone for entertainment when the gramophone begins to play music. Chamber seal opens, revealing cryptic writing on the walls. Maxis studies the writing and learns of an ancient race and their ability to create powerful devices such as an amplification rod and elemental stones. According to the writing, the amplification rod is capable of harnessing energy from the elemental stone. The excavation crew has found neither the rod nor the stones, so Maxis instructs Richtofen to create 4 replica rods, or elemental staffs, while continuing to search for the original devices. While presenting the idea, Richtofen began to question Maxis' actions, believing that the amplification rod to be a myth. Convinced of his insanity, he plans to report his mental instability to Group 935's leaders, while Samantha began to communicate more frequently with Maxis, now attempting to convince him of her being his future daughter. One night, as a team of soldiers were installing more generators, they reported seeing strange and ancient figures emerging from the mound and finding many of the men dead or missing by morning. As more figures emerged, now revealed to be corpses reanimated by element 115's powers, the test slate slowly became infected by the creatures with Maxis himself slowly turning. The reports of the creatures provoked the United States to send Tank Dempsey to the test site to investigate the group's work and acquire Dr. Richtofen as a HVT. Meanwhile, Civil War-torn Russia did the same, believing the Germans had been gearing up to unleash a dangerous new weapon and sent Nikolai Blensky to undertake the mission. The Emperor, wishing to seize the German weaponry from Japan, sends Takeo Masaki as the three soldiers made their way to the site. Richtofen attempted to preserve Max's mind and prevent it from succumbing to the disease and remove his brain. Eventually, the four heroes meet and agreed to put aside their country's allegiances to band together and survive the zombie attack on Group 935's mechanical robots while being contracted by Samantha. In the midst of battle, begging to be released from Agartha. While Tank, Nikolai, and Takeo agreed to help, Richtofen focused on creating a makeshift quadrodrone using Max's brain, allowing him to live temporarily until a human body could be provided. The four are able to open a portal to Agartha beneath the ruins, allowing Maxis to meet his future daughter and Samantha to be freed from controlling the zombies. The zombie outbreak was contained. Another alternate universe is shown where Samantha, Maxis, and a boy named Eddie, under the care of Samantha's father, Ludwig Maxis, is casually playing a game of zombies, as if fictionalizing all of the past events that occurred, making it seem like it was just one big game. Samantha is seen narrating the end of the origin story, referencing the end of all of her and the world's problems, making it seem like the zombie storyline was nothing but fictionalized story. A story created to scare children. Eddie argues that the zombie's eyes should be blue and says that Samantha doesn't know how to play right. All of a sudden, sirens are heard in the background. Dr. Maxis tells them to lock all the windows and goes into the basement. Samantha tells Eddie that he can make the rules next time. Eddie hesitantly says, "I wish the heroes in our story were real, Sam." Then Samantha replies, "Don't worry, my father has a plan." Over the course of the next 2 years in the Origins timeline, Richtofen studied the concept of alternate timelines and learned about the force of the ancient evil who controls the undead and how Element 115 connects all dimensions together. He takes a particular interest in the universe where the children, Samantha and Eddie, live in and seeks to protect them. Richtofen discovers something called the Chronorium, granting him knowledge on an artifact that called the Summoning Key, which resides in yet another dimension. The alternate timeline where the Summoning Key exists is in the 1940s in a fictional city of Morgue City. Simultaneously, 4 individuals who have come to reside in the dimension, Nero Blackstone, Jessica Rose, Jack Vincent, and Floyd Campbell, have defeated the Key from Keepers. While following the Shadow Man, Richtofen enters right after the 4 defeat a giant apothecon tentacled monster. He rushes in, taking the key, which the Keepers were given the 4. Thanks to 4 for their efforts and rushes off. Now in possession of the artifact, Richtofen travels to an alternate timeline to kill one of World War II Richtofen's multiple versions. In this timeline, only moments after the original, Richtofen trapped Maxis and Samantha inside a teleporter with Fluffy. Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo from Origins timeline attempt to stop Richtofen and join him in this timeline. The 3 confront the World War II Richtofen, telling him that there is a chain of events that have been carried out and prompt him to awaken the timeline's version of themselves. As the zombie horde approaches them from outside, the World War II Richtofen ignores the 3's warnings and turns on the teleporter, only to find the Origins timeline's Richtofen inside. The young Richtofen, who had just acquired the Summoning Key from Morgue City, then shoots the original Richtofen in the head, killing him instantly. While the group expresses disappointment in Richtofen for tampering with history, he defends his action, believing that what he does will be for a better tomorrow. The four characters band together within the Derice facility in order to survive the undead horde progress through their mission. They light up a beacon within the facility, enabling the Origins Timeline's Maxis to know where and when they are. Over the course of the mission, the Origins characters' personality begin to merge with those of their original counterparts. Dempsey becomes more aggressive and Will is loudmouth. Nikolai becomes slightly less intelligent and is more obsessed with drinking. Takio constantly speaks using Japanese proverbs, and Richtofen shows signs of schizophrenia. Using a giant robot at Derice, the four characters then pursue on Group 935 truck carrying cryostatus pod containing the original Dempsey. The robot, however, is shot down by a rocket, forcing the four to continue on foot. They reach a gondola station, which takes them up to Griffin Castle, aka Eagle's Nest, where a massive deposit of element 115 has recently been discovered. However, the four were too late to stop the original Dempsey from being sent towards Griffin Station on a rocket. As they carry on with their mission, Richtofen then possesses as his original self in an attempt to fool Dr. Groff, who becomes suspicious of Richtofen's abnormal behavior. Eventually, the group redirects the rocket containing the original Dempsey pod, hit the castle courtyard. In retaliation, Groff then activates a failsafe, preventing them from tampering with the pod. Richtofen then instructs them to activate the MPD by temporarily displacing it from Griffin Station to the castle. After battling a keeper corrupted by Group 935, the four unleash a barrage of missiles toward the moon, destroying it along with all Group 935 members within Griffin Station. As they approach the original Dempsey's pod, Richtofen reveals his plans to eliminate their original counterparts and absorb their souls into the summoning key. Dempsey, though initially resentful of the idea, agrees to the plan and takes it upon himself to disable the pod's life support system, ending the life of the original Dempsey. With the original Dempsey dead, Richtofen uses the summoning key to capture and preserve the soul of the original Dempsey. With that done, his goal at Griffin Castle is completed. After the mission at Griffin Castle, the four somehow teleport to another universe, arriving on board a Japanese ship in the Pacific Ocean. Eventually being taken hostage was the crew of Division 9 soldiers discover the stowaways. A Japanese officer interrogates the four as he holds the summoning key in his hand. Suddenly, a massive wave strikes the ship, sending everyone off their balance. A brief fight then ensues on the ship as the officer drops the summoning key, resulting in his brutal murder at the hands of Takio. As the summoning key rolls towards the side of the ship, Takio catches it, and at the last second, much to the others' relief, however, a fire on board the ship forces the four to jump overboard as the ship explodes. The four are eventually forced to swim to a nearby island, seen in the distance as a ship behind them sinks to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. The island, which also houses a Division 9 facility, has been exposed to various Element 115 experiments, resulting in mutated animals and plant life of various kinds. As they dive deeper into the facility, they discover a giant thrasher locked within a cell. After a long ensuing battle with the undead horde, the group destroys the thrasher, which is revealed to be a mutated form of this universe's Takio. Conversing with his old self, the young Takio is then shocked by the revelation that it was the Emperor who sent him here to be tortured and experimented on. He then resolves himself and offers World War II Takio a chance for redemption. The World War II Takio then commits, not even going to attempt to read that word, commits seppuku, with the young Takio acting as his kashikunin. Having absorbed the soul into the summoning key, Richtofen then teleports the group somewhere else to accomplish a task that will set a chain of events into motion before returning back to the island. Following the demise of the World War II Tokyo at the Division 9 facility, the four traveled to a war-torn Stalingrad in another alternative universe, during a massive battle between several Group 935 controlled dragons and a Russian giant robots in search of the universe's Nikolai Blensky. Eventually, the crew are teleported through the portal in the sky to Russia, free-falling until Dempsey notices that a soldier has a parachute. Dempsey pulls the reverse on the chute and slows the Origins crew's descent. However, Nikolai notices a massive dragon that flies towards a lone mesh, and upon inspecting the dragon's target, finds the mech to be piloted by none other than the original timeline Nikolai Blensky. Upon noticing the crew, the original Nikolai attempts to kill them, but is thrown into a building by the dragon before he can fire any mutagens. Later, when encountering the Origin characters, questions who they are and if they can help him. Eventually, the Origins crew reach Sophia, who has somehow turned into an AI. She asks him to perform a number of tasks before a master password can be typed in, prompting the young four to complete the Ascension protocol. As they continue to follow Sophia's instructions, they find Gersh, who recognizes them, yet knows they are not the same variations who freed him. The Origins characters then trick Gersh into entering the systems of Sophia to exact information from him. Later, a voice contacts the four, stating that he's seen their misdeeds. As Origins crew continue fighting, the mysterious voice asks them to fix the universe, as they are partially responsible for its fracture. Soon enough, the Origins versions of the crew reach the original timeline Nikolai, who makes a temporary truce with them to kill the dragon. However, upon the Alpha Dragon's death, the four asking Nikolai to surrender, he turns on them and attempts to kill them. Nonetheless, the Origins crew defeat the original timeline Nikolai, who is then approached by his Origins version, asking if he will kill him now, in a drunken stupor. The Origins timeline Nikolai apologizes, stating he wishes there was another way, and remarks he suffers the same pain as his older counterpart. Continuing, he explains further that obsession with alcohol was simply to hide agonizing memories. His first wife was killed in an air raid, revealing that Nikolai had always lied about his uncaring attitude towards women, and what drove him to have multiple wives. In a fit of rage, the original Nikolai fires upon his younger self with a pistol. However, the shot hits him in his armored shoulder, causing no damage. In retaliation, the Origins Nikolai responds by killing his original self with a shotgun, allowing Richtofen to then collect his soul. With all four souls collected, Richtofen sends the original Nikolai, and Dempsey towards the sky with a beacon from the summoning key, claiming that the crew will see Maxis soon. Later, the unknown voice from the four contacts Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takio, stating that Richtofen can't hear him, and congratulates them on completing their campaign. He then clarifies they will soon arrive at the house, soon. His domain, disembodied voice, also states he spent years looking for the right versions of them to close off the dimension, suggesting that the versions of the characters collected were a plausible reason for the universe's disorder, and the fates of the other incarnations in other realms besides the domain had all been erased at this point. Finally revealing his name as Dr. Monty, his voice finally expresses his distrust of Richtofen, reasoning he has been in the house for ages, and that the others shouldn't trust him. Finally, Richtofen and the others teleport to the universe where the children exist. Revealed to be a perfect world, the children Samantha, Eddie, in the child versions of Dempsey, Takio, and Nikolai residing in the house as a result of Richtofen's collecting the souls, play with their toys when an air siren sounds. Meanwhile, in the basement, Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey exit the teleporter to meet Maxis, who then proceeds to destroy the teleporter with help of Richtofen. Sometime later, Maxis becomes overwhelmed by a voice begging for help, influencing him to reach out for the summoning key, which ultimately reveals the Shadow Man in his dimension. Then, who in turn captures Maxis within the summoning key. The Shadow Man then begins to process the process of corrupting the dimension by allowing the Apothicans into it, wreaking havoc across the dimension. Thank you for watching. This has been a really painful video for me. My throat is killing me. And sorry if you hear any odd audio cuts. I was taking long breaks and I have to edit all this audio. Thank you for watching and see you guys in the next video.